She was freezing in the snow, begging for food to save her kids. But what happened next changed all their lives forever. The winter wind swept across the wide plains like a roaring beast, carrying flakes of snow that cut against the skin. Elsie Turner walked slowly through the storm, her breath turning to white clouds in the frozen air. Her thin shawl was no match for the icy wind. Her boots were old, torn at the seams, letting the cold bite into her toes. She hugged herself tightly, trying to stay warm, but her body trembled with every step. For 2 days, she had eaten nothing. For 3 days, her 2 children, Lily, only 6, and Ben, just 4, had survived on the last crumbs of bread. Her heart ached every time she thought of their weak voices asking, "Mama, when will we eat?" Elsie kept walking toward the last farmhouse she hadn't yet begged from. She had already tried 7 others that day. Most doors had been shut in her face. One woman had given her a single potato, but she had already cooked it for the children 2 nights ago. Her legs felt heavier with each step. The sky seemed darker. She kept whispering to herself, "Just a little farther. Don't give up." Finally, she reached the farmhouse. Smoke rose from the chimney, warmth, hope. She knocked gently at first, no answer. She gathered her strength and knocked again, louder this time. After a moment, the door opened a small crack. A tall man with sharp eyes peered out. He looked her up and down, frowning at her torn clothes and snow-covered hair. "Please," Elsie whispered, her voice trembling. "My children, they need food. Just a little. Anything you can spare." The man's expression didn't soften. Instead, he scowled. "We don't give handouts here. Times are hard for everyone." He slammed the door before she could respond. The sound echoed through the snowy fields like a cruel reminder of her helplessness. Elsie's knees gave out and she fell into the snow. Her hands shook uncontrollably as she covered her face. Her tears froze almost immediately, sticking to her lashes like tiny beads of glass. The cold seeped through her bones. "God, please," she whispered into her numb hands. "Help me." Her vision began to blur. She felt herself sinking into the snow, too weak to rise again. Then through the storm she heard it, the steady crunch of hooves approaching. A horse stopped beside her and a deep, calm voice said, "Ma'am, are you all right?" Before she could answer, darkness pulled her under. Elsie woke slowly as if rising from the bottom of a dark river. Warmth touched her cheeks, something she hadn't felt in days. When she opened her eyes, she found herself lying on a soft blanket near a glowing fireplace. Inside a small wooden cabin, the crackling flames painted the walls with warm orange light. A deep voice spoke gently, "Easy now. You're safe." She turned her head and saw the cowboy kneeling beside her. Snow still clung to his coat, melting in small droplets on the floor. He had kind, sharp blue eyes and a face roughened by the sun. He held out a wooden bowl filled with hot stew. "Eat slowly," he said. "You fainted in the snow." Elsie's hands shook as she reached for the bowl. The first sip warmed her throat, sending life back into her body. She closed her eyes, trying not to cry. The cowboy sat on a low stool and waited quietly. After a few minutes, she gathered enough strength to speak. "My name is Elsie Turner." He tipped his hat slightly. "I'm Colt Lawson. Found you outside a farmhouse. Looked like you were freezing to death." Elsie nodded weakly. "I was begging for food, but nobody helped." Her voice cracked with shame. "My children," she added with a trembling breath. "Lily and Ben. They're waiting. They haven't eaten properly in days." Colt's expression changed. His jaw tightened and his eyes filled with concern. "How far are they?" he asked. "About 6 miles. In an old cabin near the creek." Colt stood immediately and began packing supplies. Food, blankets, medicine, and a lantern. "You shouldn't be out there alone," he said firmly. "We're getting your kids right now." Elsie blinked in disbelief. Why would you help us?" Cole looked at her with a seriousness that made her heart tremble. "No child should starve," he said. "Not on my land. Not while I'm breathing." Then he spoke the words that burned into her memory. "Your children won't starve again. I swear it." He handed her a thick coat and escorted her outside. The storm had quieted, but the snow still fell gently across the open plains. They rode together on his horse, the wind cold but not as cruel as before. As they neared her cabin, Colt suddenly pulled the reins and raised a hand. Fresh boot prints circled the cabin, deep and recent. His voice dropped to a tense whisper. "Elsie, someone's been here." Colt stepped off the horse first, his boots sinking deep into the fresh snow. His eyes narrowed as he studied the boot prints circling the cabin. They were messy, rushed, and there were many of them. Elsie's heart hammered in her chest. "Colt, where are my children?" He raised a hand gently. "Stay behind me. Don't rush in." But fear pushed her forward. She ran to the cabin door, which stood half open, banging softly against the wooden wall each time the wind blew. Her breath shook as she pushed it wider and stepped inside. The cabin was cold, dead cold. The blankets lay scattered across the floor. Lily's small wooden doll lay broken near the corner. Ben's little boots were gone. The fire had turned to ash long ago. "No, no," Elsie whispered, falling to her knees. "Lily, Ben, answer me!" There was no sound. Only the quiet whistling of wind slipping through the cracks in the walls. Colt moved around the room with calm focus, checking every corner, every sign. He touched the cracks in the walls. Colt moved around the room with calm focus, checking every corner, every sign. He touched the broken doll and frowned. "They left in a hurry," he said softly. "They didn't take anything except the kids." Elsie grabbed his coat desperately. "They must be freezing. My babies are out there somewhere." "Oh God, Colt, what do they want with them?" Before he could answer, a deep voice echoed from the snowy trees outside. "No need to worry, lady. The kids are safe, for now." Elsie froze. Colt's hand went straight to his gun. 3 men stepped from behind the fir trees. Their faces were covered with black scarves, their coats thick and ragged. Each carried a weapon. 2 had rifles, and the leader held a revolver. Elsie recognized them instantly. "The bandits!" "The same ones who robbed us before." Her voice trembled with fear and anger. The leader smirked. "You still remember us, huh? Good, makes this easier." Colt shifted slightly so he stood between Elsie and the bandits. The leader pointed his gun toward Colt. "You took our stash from that abandoned barn last winter. You remember that?" Colt didn't blink. "I took what you stole from others. There's a difference." The bandit leader's smile twisted into a snarl. "You want the kids back? Then the woman comes with us. She works off your little debt." Elsie gasped, her stomach twisting. "No, I'll do anything, just don't hurt them." Then out of nowhere, a gunshot cracked through the forest. The bandits ducked. Colt grabbed Elsie and pushed her behind a fallen log. More shots followed from someone hidden in the trees. Someone unexpected, and everything changed in an instant. Gunshots echoed through the snowy forest. Sharp and sudden, too sharp to be coming from Colt. The bandits scattered, diving behind trees and rocks. Colt shielded Elsie with his body, pulling her behind a fallen log where the snow had gathered thick and white. "Stay low," he whispered, his eyes scanning the woods. Elsie's heart pounded so hard it hurt. Lily and Ben were still somewhere near the bandits' wagon. Every second felt like a knife twisting deeper into her chest. Another shot cracked through the air. The time it hit the tree beside the bandit leader, sending bark flying. "What the—" "Who's firing?" the leader yelled, ducking behind a stump. Then from between the tall pine trees, a lone rider appeared, dressed in a dark coat, face half covered by a scarf. Snowflakes drifted around him like ghosts. He rode with confidence, holding a rifle steady in one hand, firing again with deadly accuracy. Colt narrowed his eyes. Whoever he is, he sure ain't with them. The bandits tried to fight back, but the rider was fast and skilled. His bullets forced them to retreat farther into the trees. After a few moments, the remaining bandits grabbed whatever they could, dragged their wounded with them, and disappeared into the swirling snow, shouting in panic. Silence fell. Only the wind moved now. The mysterious rider approached slowly, stopping a few feet away. He dismounted, boots crunching in the snow. Colt kept his hand near his gun, cautious. The rider pulled down his scarf. Elsie gasped and felt the world tilt beneath her. "Mark?" she whispered. Her husband stood before her. The man she thought had abandoned them. The man she had cried for, prayed for, searched for. His face was thinner, hardened by pain and exhaustion, but those brown eyes, she knew them instantly. "Elsie," he said softly, voice breaking. "I never left you." Shock rooted her feet to the ground. "But you disappeared. You never came home. We thought you were dead." Mark swallowed hard. "The bandits took me. They forced me to work for them, cutting wood, repairing their hideouts. I tried to escape twice. They beat me nearly to death." He looked away, shame clouding his eyes. "I finally got away last night. I came straight for you and the kids." Colt watched him carefully. "You're saying those men are planning more trouble?" Mark nodded. "They're gathering more men. They want control of the whole valley. Colt, they're coming for your ranch next. Before Colt could respond, faint shouting echoed through the forest. The bandits were regrouping, and they were coming back. Colt didn't waste a second. The moment he heard the distant shouts, he grabbed Elsie's arm gently. Inside the cabin now, he urged. Mark lifted Lily and Ben from the wagon, holding them tight as their small arms wrapped around his neck. "Papa," they cried, both relieved and frightened. He kissed their foreheads, whispering, "I'm here. I'm not leaving again." They all rushed into the cabin. Colt slammed the door and pushed a heavy table against it. Snow blew in through the cracks as the wind grew louder, almost warning them of the danger creeping closer. Elsie's hands shook as she helped barricade the windows with old wooden planks. "Colt, do you think they'll hurt the children?" Colt checked his gun, his expression steady and brave. "Not while we're breathing." Mark loaded a rifle Colt had tossed him earlier. His fingers trembled, not from cold but from fear of what was coming. There were more of them in the woods, at least 8, maybe 10. Elsie felt her stomach twist. 10? Colt nodded slowly. "We've faced worse odds." Ben tugged at Elsie's skirt. "Mama, are the bad men coming?" She knelt and held his cheeks gently. "We're going to be okay, sweetheart, I promise." Though her voice sounded stronger than she felt, she forced herself to believe it. Then the first bandit appeared through the snowfall, shouting orders. Others followed, forming shapes in the white storm. Their guns glinted as they crept closer. Colt took position by the window. "Get ready." The attack came fast. Gunfire shattered the silence. Bullets cracked against the wood, splintering the door. Colt fired back with sharp precision. Mark knelt by another window, covering the side of the house. Elsie, though terrified, held her rifle tightly, taking slow, steady breaths like Colt had taught her minutes earlier. A bandit tried to break the door. Elsie fired a warning shot that sent him stumbling back. Her own courage surprised her. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, the shouting grew weaker. The footsteps faded. One by one, the bandits fled, confused and beaten by the fierce resistance. When the last echo faded, Colt opened the door carefully. Snowflakes drifted gently. No bandits, no danger. "It's over," he said softly. Elsie ran to Lily and Ben, hugging them so tightly she could feel their tiny hearts beating against her chest. Mark lowered his gun and looked at Colt with deep gratitude. "You saved us." Colt shook his head. "You saved yourself when you kept fighting." Lily walked to Colt and tugged his coat. "Will you stay? Help us fix our home?" Colt knelt, smiling gently. "If your mama wants me to, I'd be honored." Elsie met his eyes, warm, grateful, filled with new hope. "Yes," she whispered, "stay." And in that snowy valley, a broken family began to heal. With the cowboy who kept his promise. "Your children won't starve again,